The title of this video has terrified me, so I'm going to do this reaction while standing up. That's right, we're doing a stand react. A react standy is what we're gonna do. This is how sitting on a gaming chair tragically killed a 14-year-old.
You know the feeling. You've come home from work or school and you just want to sit down. You slip off your shoes at the front door, drop your bag off on the couch, and stroll over to your desk. There's a new YouTube video that dropped today from your favorite creator, and you're excited to watch it. You roll your chair over to the desk and plop down on the seat.
Okay.
In an instant, you're thrown across the room.
Oh my god.
You finally come to.
Jesus
All you
Christ.
can remember is a loud bang rocketing through your bedroom. You drag your hands across your body to see if you're okay when you feel a hot stickiness.
Oh no.
Close your eyes, hoping it won't be what you think it is.
This is probably a bad time to say that I'm actually squeamish. I don't know why I picked this to watch. This is gonna make me feel incredibly uncomfortable, is it? Yeah, let's go.
You bring your hands up in front of you to look. Their crimson sheen betrays your injury. Next thing you know, you're in the emergency room, and surgeons are busy pulling chips, shards, and metal scrap from your abdomen.
Jesus.
How could sitting in an office chair go so very, very wrong?
If I had to, with my tiny brain and my stupid ideas, put a thought together, I would say maybe it had something to do with like the oil in the gaming chair, because you know when you sit down in those chairs and you can kind of feel underneath it, it's like oily sometimes. It'll be like this black, weird, oily, fluidy stuff that's on it. So maybe it had something to do with that. Maybe there was no lubricants, and when he sat on it, there was friction that happened.
What makes an office chair go boom?
Dude, what does make an office chair go? Oh, we got a little intro. Nice. Hey, this is cool. This is my first video that I'm watching from Brew, and this is just a really cool setup, I think. That is a crazy way to introduce someone dying, though. It's like, dun.
Today's episode is sponsored by Crossout.
Crossout, baby!
Shooter that lets you build your custom post-apocalyptic Mad Max death machine. The game
Oh,
is
nice!
play on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One,
No.
and Xbox Series X and S.
All of those things?
All you have to do is download
Fuck a Switch,
and
right?
play. All the different vehicles and mechs are player built from individual
That's
parts,
pretty cool. He's got like
constructs,
spider stuff on it.
cabins, and of course, a vast
No.
array of weapons. Like
No, how many weapons?
chainsaws, rams, lasers, walker legs, drones, turrets. There's endless opportunity for creativity. The in-game
so many.
vehicle editor is super easy to use. And you
Okay.
can even test drive
So look at
new
that.
wheels before getting into
You just
battle.
killed him.
Speaking of which,
Flo?
Crossout has a number of play modes, including
Oh, no.
a fast-paced
Really?
PvP, a PvE
Nice.
mode for co-op, and a
Okay.
variety of other seasonal game modes like Battle
Variety?
Royale, racing, and vehicle
Yo-
football. Oh, and
Okay, that's
like
kinda fun.
stories, Crossout even has an adventure mode that you can play on your own to explore the open world. Or
It does?
cooperatively. I particularly like Crossout's realistic vehicle damage system. So even when
Actually, to be
someone shoots
fair,
my tires out, I'm finally
this
one of
looks-
the cool kids
this looks
doing
pretty
those.
good.
Building your own vehicle.
Okay, I'm not sponsored by Crossout. I'm playing the ad because I feel like it's appropriate to play the ads of people that you're reacting to, because skipping it is kind of rude. I do think, however, this looks really cool.
It's super cool too, with the possibilities to get your
Like, the
ride
spider
checked
thing is
out.
really insane.
Play Crossout for free by clicking our link in the description.
And it's free.
And you'll get a bonus with special parts and paint today.
Special parts?
20
All right, so I don't know if that's still active, but if you want to, you can go and click the link in the description. Then do that.
13. University student Mr. Liu returned to his apartments he shared with his older sister. After a long day at school, he laid back on his bed to rest while his sister, Miss Liu, who had just gotten out of the shower, sat down at her desk to twiddle around on the internet while blow-drying her hair. Then, with no warning, a sharp bang ripped through the
Oh my
room,
God!
and a powerful surge of air followed, throwing the room into disarray. In
How
the
would
aftermath,
a mere chair have that kind of power? It's been charging up for years? How old is that chair?
still reeling from the sudden pressure change, looked around their ransacked room to see his sister laying still on the floor,
Oh no. Is she...
body thrown like a dead thing against the side of their bed. She was still conscious, but just barely, and passed
Jesus
out moments
Christ.
later. With his sister's blood pooling on the floor around him, Mr. Liu called the paramedics, and shortly after, she was hoisted into an ambulance, speeding off to the emergency room.
Where did this
Medical
happen?
team
I must have missed it.
got to
I
work
must have
on
missed
her
it.
double time and told her family that she'd been injured by an explosion. Her anus had been split open, punctured by fragments of metal, and her genitals had likewise been perforated by shrapnel and debris. Miss Leo was wheeled into surgery not long after getting to the hospital, where surgeons and nurses worked to remove the detritus that had been rocketed into her nether regions. After a grueling 5 hours, doctors finally stitched up her wounds.
5 hours?
But her journey was...
Dude, doctors and surgeons are crazy. I've seen them go for like 19-hour surgeries because it's not like you can't really take breaks. I mean, maybe you can take breaks. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I feel like in the middle of a surgery, you can't just be like, all right, well, it's time. I gotta clock out, guys. I gotta go. They're crazy. Imagine the amount of mental fortitude you need to be able to sit there or stand there and work on someone's body with the intricate little details and the really, really hard little maneuvers you need to make inside of someone's cavities that you have to make for hours and hours and hours on end. There's a reason you have to go to medical school for like 10, 15 years.
Wasn't done yet. It would take yet another 6 months for her injuries to fully heal.
Oh, she lived. Okay, good.
Scene in the siblings' tiny apartment, it was clear where the explosion had originated. The small, blue, rotating, gas spring-operated stool was to blame. The force of the explosion split the foam seat into 4 discrete pieces, and the wooden mount showed a nasty hole where a metal rod had rocketed up through it into Miss Leo.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ. I wonder if it just had the straight up power to just like puncture like just any part of your body. Like it would go through like straight through your arm. It probably did. If it would just an explosion that did this, he said it was an explosion. It probably rocketed out with some insane force.
Inside the room, the siblings' computer had been bombed out by the shockwave, and parts of the plastic casing had melted. Lucky
by the shockwave? It was so powerful that just the shockwave destroyed the monitor. That's insane. It was not even just shrapnel. It was just like the straight kinetic energy that was released from the explosion.
For his sister, the steel rod in the center of the stool didn't pierce into her body. If it had,
okay, good.
Her injuries would have been much, much worse.
Yeah, I feel like it could have.
After interviewing neighbors, journalists found that the sound of the blast could be heard from as far away as 200 meters.
What? And that's inside of like an apartment building as well. So you've got the walls keeping the sound in. It has to go through walls. It has to, and it 200 meters? That's insane.
Some thought it was so loud it had to be a gas pipe explosion and called the fire department. But how could a simple stool explode like that? And should I be worried about my rotund tushy in my office chair?
Yeah, I'm a little bit scared.
The truth behind this phenomenon is to learn how office chairs work generally.
Okay.
Basically, chairs are medium-sized objects that support our weight that we can use to... So my producers tell me that I don't need to explain to you how chairs work.
Okay. Guys, do you think my chair is gonna explode? I have one of these. Do you think this will blow up? I don't think it will. Like, it's like one of those, like, expensive ones. So, I don't think it'll blow up. I'm good? Okay, cool.
But office chairs do have one little mechanism that, quite literally, raises the bar. It's called a gas spring, and it's technology that lets these chairs adjust.
Mine has that.
It's similar to a bike pump, in that it has a metal cylinder with an airtight piston mounted on a rod inside.
Yeah, mine has that.
The piston is attached to a handle that you pump up and down. The piston moves inside the cylinder, sucking in air before compressing it through a valve and into whatever you're inflating.
Oh, so it was the compressed air. Oh, I mean, how does it blow up? The air is so powerful. It surprised me. It's like when I realized that you can use water, like a jet stream of water, to cut through steel. That's insane. Now I realize how Blastoise is so strong.
Tires, your sports balls, and whatnot. In a gas spring, the piston is attached to the bottom of your seat, and the entire cylinder is pressurized with nitrogen gas and oil. The nitrogen is pressurized so it exerts upward force on the piston, which holds your seat at the topmost position. The nitrogen provides the force, and the oil lubricates, ensuring the chair works smoothly. Also, since gas springs are holding pressurized gas, they have to be made of metal that can handle the force. Gas springs occasionally have holes in the piston that allow gas to move from one side of the piston to the other.
Okay, so if they have to have this specific type of metal, or they at least have like decent quality metal to be able to withstand all this. I would assume that this exploding can also only happen on cheap chairs, unless they're really cost cutting on those high-end chairs, which I hope they're not. So if you get a good chair, or at least one that's not cheap as chips, you know, your basic IKEA brand's fare, then you should be fine.
This might make you think that the piston isn't actually compressing the gas. But remember, the cylinder that contains the piston is gas tight. So when the piston is depressed, the rod itself takes up space that compresses the air. There are multiple reasons for the holes in the piston. One is so oil or other lubricant can move from one side of the piston to the other. If there were no paths from each side of the airtight seal, then the piston would dry out eventually. With a gas spring, pressure can equalize on each side of the piston because of the holes, and the upward force is generated by the higher surface area on the inside. For all my math nerds out there, the equation for this is force equals pressure multiplied by area.
Okay, anyone know that? Can anyone calculate that?
The inside of the piston has a higher surface area than the outside, which has some space taken up by the rod that attaches to your seat. A higher force is exerted on the inside, pushing your seat up. Another reason is that these holes improve the smoothness of the spring's action. Without the equalizing pressure, the piston would shoot upward erratically, as opposed to the smooth rise we're used to. This is similar to why we don't use regular metal springs in office chairs. Metal springs can hold a lot of energy, but they release that energy all at once.
Jesus Christ. Could you imagine your office chair at random intervals just bouncing up to the ceiling? I mean, to be fair, it would be kind of fun. I imagine in some kind of weird backwards clown land that's what they use for regular office chairs. Just ones that will randomly explode at intervals.
Oh, I don't know. Explode, maybe. So conceptually, the gas springs in our office chairs are meant to contain pressurized gases which, if released in an uncontrolled manner, would violently explode.
Jesus!
But our chairs are built specifically to
Okay, this does seem a bit of a doomer kind of view, but I imagine this is incredibly rare because we don't really hear about this often, and when this does happen, it's a big thing. You know, it's something that doesn't happen on a regular basis. We don't have chairs just exploding all over the world, I think, unless it's been covered up by the chair Illuminati, in which case we could be in some grave danger. Don't ever sit down.
to contain that pressure and control it. So, what's going wrong when office chairs explode? To find out why this happens, it helps to look at other examples to see if there are any similarities. For that, we can turn to these cases. January 14th, 2009. A 14-year-old teenager called only Xiao Gong to protect his identity was injured by an exploding office chair while home alone. The boy went to his computer to go on the internet like so many young folks, when the chair below him erupted, driving a steel rod into
Oh
his
my
eye.
god!
As
Oh,
his
Jesus
blood pooled on the
Christ!
floor around him, he dragged himself to a phone and called his father, who contacted medical authorities.
Oh my god, what do you do? Imagine getting a call one day, your kid calls you, it's like ring ding ding, hello. My chair exploded, I've been impaled by a metal rod, I am bleeding out right now. That's insane, you never expect it.
Arrived, Xiao Gong was looking very pale from blood loss, but was still conscious enough to speak. Xiao Gong was taken to the Jiaozhou City Center Hospital, where doctors worked to save the boy's life. He was bleeding internally, hemorrhaging blood after—
No, this bad. This is not like the previous one. He got impaled by it this time. That's pretty bad. I think that's the only difference between the previous situation with the girl and this one is he got like literally impaled by the metal rod. That's not great.
had been embedded inside him had damaged blood vessels around his wounds. Tragically, doctors weren't able to get a handle on the boy's blood loss.
Fuck.
In an hour of arriving at the hospital, he had passed away.
Damn.
His father said after that he never thought that a child just sitting on a chair could have any type of accident.
It's just a freak accident.
Type of pressurized cartridge.
I wonder if they went after the company that made the chair. Because you have to think, if they were using really high quality materials, that probably wouldn't have happened. But also, it's such a freak accident that never happens. Maybe it's something that the company could probably just be like, I don't know, man, this never happened. This has never happened before in our lives. Like, I don't think that anything that we have done could have stopped this from happening. I don't know if it's necessarily on the company.
Going out of control is definitely a quality issue. Another case from November 2007 out of Yantai City describes how a 68-year-old man was taken to the hospital after his rotating chair exploded. He He was taken to the hospital in shock and similarly suffering from blood loss like
Yeah, I'd be shocked as well.
Xiaogang. He had serious rectal injuries, including a rupture in his small intestine. Some of the damaged
That's
tissue
bad.
had tears as wide as 5 centimeters.
Ruptures in the intestines are especially bad because, there's bacteria in there, and if it leaks out and it gets in your bloodstream, like, it's going to give you infections on a crazy level.
By the time his surgery was over, medical teams pulled more than 20 fragments of metal from his body, as well as chunks of wood and foam. Not only that, but the steel rod from the gas spring had been driven into him as well.
Oh no! Oh God!
The doctor present said that the rod had been shot into the man from the blunt side, and the explosion had been powerful enough to sever it from the mechanism entirely. Basically, the explosion had to be giant. The phenomenon.
Yeah, no shit. Like that, an explosion that pushes the rod up and completely severs it from the mechanism upwards. That just goes into your body from the blunt end.
Of office chair explosions seems to be certainly real, but why do all these stories seem to come from China? Also, notice
is it the materials?
In China, the distribution of
Well, to be fair, okay, to play devil's advocate, there's a lot of people in China. Like, you could say something about, China always has like low quality goods. I don't think that's necessarily true. There's a lot of people in China.
Seem to correlate by distribution of population, which is only interesting insofar as it's totally normal. This is likely a pure luck situation, not something localized, like lower standards in a particular factory or some regional standards having lower oversight. With this in mind, we can turn to news reports from Miss Liu's case that note price discrepancies between office chair costs depending on modes of production. Basically, how raw materials, metals, etc., are crafted into modules, springs, rods, etc., which are then constructed into components, gas springs, which are then assembled into office chairs.
It is strange how these 3 stories all came from the same region of the world. I don't know, maybe there's something to do with, I think there were probably different companies. Actually, I think the first story wasn't from China though, was it? I might be wrong on that.
In the report on Miss Liu and her brother, we learned that when office chair components are assembled in Guangdong, then
it wasn't China.
For packaging and assembly, the chairs are trademarked with company contract details which guarantee standard safety requirements and priced accordingly around $40 to $50.
That's a pretty cheap chair. 40 to 50 USD, that's a pretty cheap chair. So I feel like if you're going on the higher end of chairs, I would always recommend, if you're in a position where you're able to, you'd always ideally get a higher end chair if you're sitting down a lot, especially in your room, in your office. If you're working on things, if you're working on computers, you need to get a good chair. It's like getting a good mattress, because you spend so much time in this chair, you spend so much time on a mattress, then if you don't treat it right, if you don't kind of invest in it, then it's going to mess up your body. You're not going to feel good. You're going to feel creaky. You're going to feel groany. You're going to have back problems. I had such bad back issues because I used to use one of those bloody DX Racer gaming chairs that had no lumbar support. It felt absolutely awful. My back was dying constantly. I changed to like a good chair, which I don't think that everyone can get like a really, really high-end office chair, but I changed to at least like a decent one, and it immediately cleared up my back issues. So if you have back pain, I would recommend, if you're in an opportunity where you can change your chair to something more high quality, it's worth the investment 100%, especially if you're in an office regularly for long periods of time staring at a computer. It will save your life.
However, when modules like springs and metal rods are imported to Xiamen instead of purchased from a supplier and then constructed, the same safety standards can be avoided and the price lowered to something in the ballpark of only $20 US.
That's what the problem is.
A chair company can buy already constructed gas springs from a factory for a higher price, or they can buy the parts to make the gas springs, build it themselves, and save a buck. The problem is, they're not held to the same standards as the factory that sells the springs wholesale.
This is why we need regulation, guys.
So it could be good, could be bad. It's an odds game. It's a little bit like getting news from TikTok. The question remains though, what is behind this string of office chair explosions?
I think it's just luck, right?
A Mythbusters-style television show from China tested this exact scenario for us.
Damn, they really cared about this a lot, huh?
3 different chairs and dropped heavy sandbags on them to see how they could withstand the impact. The first chair was from a reliable and well-known retailer, with info about the manufacturer and certification guaranteeing safety standards. The second was purchased second-hand and had some visible damage on the column that has the gas spring.
But it was from the same people?
Was bought from what the hosts called the third market in China. Basically the black market, out of the eye of the government.
The third market.
The well-made chair fared well. The seat, which isn't attached but sitting on top of the base, fell off, and all of the components showed very little damage, if any. The second-hand chair did less well than the first. When the sandbags landed on the seat, it exploded into a flurry of metal and plastic.
Jesus
You can
Christ!
see that there was a hole burst through the
It's a
middle of
grenade. It's a chair grenade. The shrapnel just went everywhere. I'm surprised it didn't take someone's eye out.
seat, and the metal piece that mounts the height controls had been violently bent. The black
that's
market
bad,
chair handled the weight the worst.
Yeah,
When
here we
the
go.
sandbag hit the seat, not only did the chair explode, but it erupted into flames.
What? That can't be. How? How does that happen, man? How does a fucking chair explode into flames when you drop a sandbag on it? That is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen in my life. That is a chair. I always think it's ridiculous on games when you shoot a car, it just explodes, because I don't think that's actually realistic. I don't think that actually happens in real life, but who knows? I'm an idiot. The comments will probably correct me. A chair exploding into a ball of flames because it had a sandbag dropped on it is insane.
Setting the whole chair alight. It's nice to see that when these chairs are built properly, they can withstand a certain amount of force. But we still don't know why. Seeking Truth spoke to Guo Liang, a researcher with the Chinese Academy of Science Mechanics Research Institute, who told the host that there
Please be safe when you're buying your next chair grenade.
are two main reasons why these chairs can explode. The first reason we witnessed in the experiment with the second-hand chair. He tells us that if the gas spring has a crack or some other damage, it can no longer contain the pressures required to operate. And when the weight is dropped on the seat, that pressure escapes violently, aka an explosion. It's like sitting on a blown-up balloon. There's a pressure inside, and as you add weight to it, those pressures increase until the latex of the balloon can no longer hold it back.
Where does the fire come from?
On top of a balloon, it'll pop even harder.
Sure.
The second reason explains the fiery explosion of the third chair.
Okay.
Young tells Seeking Truth that many under-the-table products use cheaper gases like regular air instead of non-flammable gases like nitrogen. Now, you might think,
Air's flammable? Yeah. No, I didn't say that. I'm not dumb. I knew that.
wait, air isn't flammable,
No, air is not flammable. That's right. I knew that it wasn't flammable, actually. See, I told you all.
which you'd be mostly right. However, on a chemical level, oxygen is one of the core ingredients of fire. Combustion is defined as the combination of oxygen with another substance that generates heat and light. On a similar note, the higher the pressure, the faster and hotter a fire will burn. However, if the manufacturer puts an even more flammable gas into their spring than regular air, you can see much,
Why would they do that?
larger reactions.
What would be cheaper than fucking air? Bro, it's everywhere. Bro, I got some in here. Bro, I got so much in my house and I didn't even have to pay for it. What could you possibly find that's cheaper than air?
On top of that, when pressures rise, so too does temperature. Seeking Truth even tested this by raising and lowering a chair seat for 20 minutes, and then taking the temperature of the gas spring. They measured a rise to 45 degrees Celsius, but thankfully, there were no sign of any explosions or fires of any kind.
Jesus Christ, imagine if your chair burst into flames because you raised it and lowered it for 20 minutes. And it just that'd be insane. No one would sit down ever again.
Probably because the chair they used was the most expensive they could find and likely used the proper nitrogen in the spring.
We pay for water, why not air? Okay, Andrew, Ryan, calm down. What's next? We're gonna make a little underwater city called Rapture? Like, actually, I built the city and now you have to pay for air so you can breathe it. That's the stage of capitalism that I don't think we should get to.
In short, all office chairs use gas springs which contain pressurized gas, which, if the casing is damaged, can violently depressurize, triggering an explosion. Not just that, but if the manufacturer uses oxygen in the spring itself, then that compressed gas can also combust, adding fire to an otherwise already terrible situation.
Nice.
Office chairs aren't the only appliances around our home that use pressure for our needs.
Oh, great.
At this
Everything's
very
gonna blow
moment,
up.
You may be relying on hot water under pressure in a water heater for
Oh, no, I
showering
am.
and washing your dishes and
Oh,
clothes.
God, I am.
You may
Oh, no.
have used a pressure cooker or an Instant Pot that uses
Nope.
steam to build
Nope.
pressure inside of an airtight pot.
Don't have one of those.
You
I'm
might have
safe.
also seen automatic door closers in schools and public buildings that use pressure to shut themselves.
Never opening a door again.
Much like office chairs, when the mechanics are damaged, they can fail to catastrophic effect. What we can take away
Wait, so all of those things can explode randomly? Oh, Jesus
from
Christ.
this is that power, in almost all forms, is dangerous if uncontained. But when harnessed properly, it can make our lives orders of magnitude easier. Office chairs use the power of pressure to make it easier for us to get comfortable. But when the mechanism that we use to contain the power is damaged or made incorrectly, then disaster can follow.
So the moral of the story at the end of the day, everyone, is please buy a good office chair. It is very important. And if you can't afford one, do not go up and down on it and heat it up so that the air inside becomes flammable and can potentially explode if you sit on it. Just be very careful of that. This is a great video from Brew. You should definitely go check them out. And if you want me to react to a video, just throw it in my Discord server. Links in the description.